day, everybody. Morning number 1886. Consecutive days in a row on Morsels of a Thought. I try to bring you morsels of a thought of wisdom because knowing the right thing to do is wisdom, and then doing it is virtue. Now, magic comes in between the knowing of wisdom and the doing of virtue. That takes energy, and we have to put that in there. And that's my goal for this program, which is learning the right things to do that can be right for you, uh, trying to entertain you a little bit. Not that I can dance or tell jokes or anything like that. And that we all become more knowledgeable afterward. Everybody together. Now, today I'm reading from The Prosperity Approach, The Simple Guide to Ultimate Prosperity by Allyson Chavez. We're on page 87. I'm reading to you what somebody wise has to say about what they got through in their life that turned out to be right. And we're going to see if that magic action would work for us. So we're going to read from here. The law of compensation. She says, you get equal returns for that which is given. In other words, you get what you give. You'll always be compensated for your efforts and your contribution, whatever it is, however much or however little. And you can never be compensated in the long term for more than what you've put in. So be very much aware of how you're contributing to your life of prosperity, especially in your thoughts and in your method of procedure. What's a method of procedure? It's the angle or the way you, quote, approach, end quote, life. I titled this book The Prosperity Approach for a reason. If we want prosperity, we must approach it in a completely different way from what we've known. We must change our method of procedure. Some places where people fall short in this law are expecting something for nothing, hunting for cheap things or refusing to buy things unless they're a bargain, begrudging spending money. Can you see where the approach or method of procedure is dripping in scarcity? That's the scarcity approach. You're learning the prosperity approach. And for the law of compensation to work for you, you must be aware of what you're giving because it's going to come back to you in the same way you gave it. My son and I drove to Los Angeles, California from Salt Lake City, Utah to attend a course together. I didn't want to spend $3.03 a gallon for gas in LA, figuring for sure that it would be cheaper in another city. We ended up spending an extra 20 minutes looking for a gas station in a smaller town where it was $3.23 a gallon. In my effort to save a few dollars, I wasted a bunch of time and it ended up costing me more anyway. My method of procedure was hunting for a cheap thing, not taking the prosperity approach. It was a fabulous lesson that reminded me that I just use the resources around me and trust I'll be taken care of. Does this mean you don't buy things on sale or look for discounts? Of course not. But when you trust that as you show up to play full out, the universe will conspire to help you, you'll actually find things on sale very easily, and discounts will come out of nowhere. And when they don't, you know that's all right because eventually they will. Now, here's the law of divine compensation. She says, even when we experience diminishment within the material plane, within the level of spiritual substance, there's more than enough capacity for the divine, capital D, to compensate for any lack. This law puts us right back to the two secrets of true prosperity: connecting and receiving. Divine compensation helps us realize that no matter what we think we're lacking in our physical circumstances, there is always plenty to be created from the spiritual plane, and God knows exactly what to do to compensate for any lack. In order for God to do this, we must be aligned to love and let go of fear. We do this by connecting to Him and receiving all the good He has for us, even in the midst of the turbulent times. It's knowing that He has created us to be relevant, and we can choose either bend with the wind like a willow tree or stand rigid in the wind and snap. It is completely up to us. There's that Chinese saying about the reed that it is next to a huge oak tree, and the oak tree is very proud of being bigger and taller. And then the wind blows over the oak tree, but the reed bends with the wind. So, anyway, there. I had many opportunities to practice putting the law of divine compensation to the test while I built my business. Many times it was a daily conscious reminder to let go of fear and focus on what I wanted to expand in my life. When the physical evidence piled up against me and there was no money coming in, but the bills were steady and reliable every month, I literally took it hour by hour. Excuse me. Excuse me. I literally took it hour by hour, reminding myself that the laws work perfectly and I had to adjust my thinking to them. We were preserved in little ways and big ways, and as I stayed flexible and willing to bend, I opened up to receiving in ways I'd never done before. My family rallied around me, supporting me in every way. My children stayed healthy and free from injuries, and people came across my path to help me regain my confidence, strengthen my message, and firm up my resolve to keep on keeping on. Whatever you're going through, know that it's here because it's the next step in your spiritual growth and evolution. You're ready for it and you can handle it. God will compensate you for any lack or loss so long as you follow so long as you allow him to. He does it in his own time and in his own way, which usually means it's going to take a bit longer than we'd like and look different from what we'd pictured, and it will be absolutely perfect. We are reading The Prosperity Approach, the simple formula to ultimate prosperity by Allyson Chavez. If we produce the magic action to do some of these things, that will create virtue. Virtue is when you're doing the right thing. So the purpose of my show is to get more virtue into the world. I didn't know I was going to wind up doing it like this. Something just came to me. Morsels of a thought. M.O.A.T. Why not? Haha. Going all mental. Back to the book. Chapter 5. Going all mental. There's a quote by Wallace Wattles, Wattles, that says, "There is no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. It is the hardest work in the world." Well, no wonder then. True prosperity is a process, and most of the process happens between our ears. When my kids were young, we used to watch George Shrinks on PBS. His dad used to say, "Way to use your noggin for something more than an eyebrow holder." And we've got to use our own brains for more than an eyebrow holder if we are going to create true prosperity. There are four mental laws that are extremely helpful to know when working on the mental pillar of prosperity and developing a prosperity mindset. Can you handle four more laws on top of the 21 you just read through? I know you can. Rule number 1. The mind must think. You can guide it, but you can't stop it. The mind is in a constant state of activity. So, in regard to the universal law of cause and effect, the planting process and the harvesting process are always going on. You can choose not to guide your thoughts and let them wander wherever they feel like, but that's not going to stop the harvest. What does it stop? What it does stop is your ability to control what's being harvested in your mind. Now, I do want to say that as a practitioner uh, of a certain practice that I do, um, the first thing you learn is how to harvest energy. Okay. Rule number 2 here. The mind thinks boundlessly. The mind is in a constant state of activity and it's boundless in its capabilities. You have an imagination that is literally limitless. You can think of anything. Wordplay and innovation are created in the mind to help you look at things from a different perspective. You can take information and date and shape them into creative new meanings. My 10-year-old daughter came running into the house after playing out in the field with her friend for several hours. She was sweaty and dirty and had scratches all over her arms and legs. I asked her what she had been up to, and she informed me that they had been building a fort. But they wanted it to be a secret fort, so they had to cover it with sticks to camouflage it. She said, "It was really sticky, Mom." I looked at her in confusion and asked her if the trees had been covered with sap or something. She stared at me like I was not the brightest bulb in the pack. "No, Mom," she said, "there were a lot of sticks. It was sticky. That's why I have all those scratches on me." Her wordplay on sticky completely changed what I was picturing in my mind. Wordplay is just one of the many facets of a facet is an aspect, a side. Wordplay is just one of the many facets of our incredible imagination, and children use their imagination correctly all the time to create alternate realities of play that are expansive and fulfilling. As adults, we use our imagination to be realistic, quote unquote, so we can be, quote, prepared in case anything goes wrong, end quote. All this does is cripple our faith and keep us paralyzed in fear. That's very interesting. Rule number 3. The mind thinks exclusively only one thought at a time. You might be tempted to argue with me on this one, but it's true. You can only think one thought at a time. Your mind thinks so fast that sometimes it seems that you're thinking about more than one thought at a time, but that's not the case. Only one player can perform on the stage of your mind at any given time, and you have absolute control over which player that is. You but know this. Any thought that becomes dominant in your mind represents a choice. Rule number 4. The mind drives the body. In Dennis R. Deaton's book, the book on mind management, he makes a distinction between the mind and the brain. The mind is the spirit, and the brain is part of the body. He goes on to explain that the body is dependent on the mind. The mind wills, the brain directs, and the body enacts. The mind is independent. The brain and body are dependent. The body can affect the mind, and the mind can affect the body, but the mind takes precedence. When the mind commits, the body has no choice but to respond. It may resist or complain, but in the final analysis, the mind rules. My son went to New York City with his high school band his junior year. He doesn't like crowds and prefers to stay at home, but we thought it would be a wonderful experience for him to see a big metropolitan city and expand his horizons a bit. The thing he wanted least to do was go to the top of the Empire State Building. I got a frantic text from him while he was on top, saying that he was dizzy and sweaty. He felt nauseous and the room kept spinning. I told him to ask the chaperones if he could go back to the hotel and skip the evening activity, and he informed me he'd already gotten permission. When I asked him what he was missing out on, guess what he said? Yep, the Empire State Building. I have no doubt that he was dizzy and nauseated, but it wasn't because of the food he ate or being dehydrated. His mind created sickness in his body so he wouldn't have to go. He wasn't faking it, it was the power of his mind. I experience the power of my mind every morning when I convince my body to get out of bed and work out. My brain and body love to resist and complain, but once my mind commits, away we go. So we are reading from Allyson Chavez, The Prosperity Approach, the simple formula to ultimate prosperity. You need to have a sense of the universe being stronger than you are because you are part of the universe. I know that I'm not that wise, so I bring in wisdom from people who have done the right thing and accomplished great things. And I'm reading to you what they say in their books, in their synopses of their lives. So I'm kind of inspired by what she says. Okay, back to the book. The Prosperity Mindset. Your mind is the most powerful computer in the world, and you create your reality according to the vibration of your thoughts and beliefs, your inner frequency. For most people, the programs that have been installed resonate at a vibration that is far below the frequency of prosperity, and you can tell that by looking around at your circumstances. So, what do we get to do? Install new programs, of course, but first, let's break it down a bit so you understand what's going on behind the scenes in your miraculous mind. First, draw a circle about the size of a grapefruit. Okay, I'll take a pencil. Where's my pencil? Okay, draw a circle about the size of a grapefruit. All right. This isn't very good, but okay. This is a circle the size of a grapefruit and shape of a grapefruit, actually. Uh, Next, draw a horizontal line separating the circle in half with a top half and a bottom half. In the top half of the circle, write conscious. On the lower half of the circle, write subconscious. Okay, I'm going to draw a line. Conscious and subconscious. All right, so we've got that. All right, next, draw an arrow out from the line separating the two and write filter. Ooh, this filter. 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 So my little wavy line is the filter. Okay, you can also write its official name, Reticular Activating System. Reticular activating system. And over here, I will write RAS, but filter also works. There we go. Now that it's labeled, let's discuss. Okay, you see my handwriting. You can know my personality through all that, right? Your mind has two parts to it, i.e., the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious mind is what makes decisions. It can create new ideas. It has the ability to accept or reject ideas and is our awareness. Above part is our awareness. Ooh. The subconscious mind is what runs all of our belief systems or programs. The party happens in the subconscious. It doesn't have the ability to reject any idea. It accepts all ideas as truth, whether or not they actually are. It runs all your automatic functions: breathing, heart heart beating, blinking eyes, digestion, blood flow, and so forth. Its job is to keep you alive and safe. The subconscious is the center for emotions. It's got an S on it. Emotions, which is important to remember and is also called your heart or your spirit. There is an invisible filter between the two, which is officially called the Reticular Activating System, or RAS. The filter distinguishes between the truth and lies and allows your conscious mind to kick ideas out if it determines they're not useful. I also like to call it the bouncer, quote end quote. It can bounce ideas out if they're not useful to our vision of prosperity. Now, my particular vision, Yin Yang's vision, is that of virtue. So my vision is a virtue, and I filter things that way. This one, this Allyson Chavez, is helping us go a step further into prosperity. Our filter, she says, isn't fully in place until we're about 8 years old. That's why children believe everything you tell them. It's accepted by the subconscious without question, and those programs come back to haunt us as we get older and want to and want to create prosperity. Note, ideas and beliefs will stay in the subconscious mind until another belief takes it over. Now we are on page 94. Next time we will continue on Would You Like an Example? She does that. She has an example. So I will put a bookmark right here. Thanks to uh, Gina Putoff. Thank you, Gina Putoff. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little story. My younger brother, hello, was younger than me by 5 or 6 years, mostly 6. And that meant that I was already 6 years old. I was 7 or so when he was 1. I was able to convince him to let me paint his nails colorfully. And he said, "Oh, this is beautiful." And then people said, no, my mother said, "No, he's a boy. Don't do that to him." So I had to wash it off for him. And then I went and convinced him again. And he did it again. And then this time, my dad came home and saw it and said, "Oh, no." And so I washed it off again. And then I asked him, "Would you do it again? Because it is so beautiful." And he almost let me do it again. I remember it, but I got him to do it at least I got him to do it more than one time, even though he was discouraged from it the first and second time. So we wound up having a lot of fun. Nail polish, virtue, wisdom. Okay, old Kinderhook.